Hi, Suzanne Wilson here, and I have just been experimenting to learn how to live stream. I've played with Zoom a little bit, sending Zoom over to YouTube, and I'm realizing, I think it's just as easy to go live on YouTube. And I have had a lot of spirit guides around me in the last few days, and I've heard from a lot of people out there saying how much more stress am I possibly supposed to manage that the last few years have been nothing but grief. We are grieving people, and some people are grieving pets that they've lost. Um, we're grieving situations that we've lost, perhaps jobs, businesses. Some people have lost homes. Now, I had two emails today saying, now they're putting in this inflation, and I haven't seen this kind of inflation in my entire lifetime. And I'm like, well, when I was a kid, I can remember having this kind of inflation. It was pretty bad. But when I think about this, I was sort of chatting with my guides in a really deep meditation today about a lot of things. And they reminded me what my ancestor guide says about how hard things were. And she was actually an African slave in America during the times of slavery, which was late 19th century. And African, she ended up being freed and marrying a white Irish American man, and they had a daughter, and she had an Irish last name, but was 50% African and 50% Irish. And so the ancestor guides were saying, you think your times are hard, our times were hard. Everything goes in cycles, and that it's incumbent upon us to remember that we are souls having experiences here. And it's almost becoming a cliche to say that you're a soul having a physical experience on the earth. And people don't want to hear that right now. They don't want platitudes. So I want to be a little more practical. And what my guides have said is to remember that everything that's happening on the earth around us is first seeded, it gets started, gets built in a quantum field, which is a space beyond the veil in spirit form before it sort of lands here. You may think of this quantum field as the darkness, the dark matter, the nothingness, but we're the ones building it there through our thoughts, words, actions, inactions, the choices that we make every day. And not one individual, but that collective consciousness of us, humankind, having our experiences here. And what we focus on and rail against the most gets the most energy sent to it. What we are most grateful for gets the most energy sent to it in the quantum field. So we can fertilize and water the good seed, or we can fertilize and water the bad seed. And now that brings into the question of judgment and judging things as good or bad or indifferent. And so to remove that, a simple test would be, are you focusing on the things you do want, or versus the things that you don't want to have happening? That is a key right now. Right now, what's being built on the quantum field is more conflict and war. And I'm getting a lot of questions about, will there be another civil war in the United States? And I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you that the seeds of conflict have been planted in a very strong way in my country, in the United States. But again, this comes in cycles, and we've had this before. This is not worse than it has been in the past. This is not better than it has been in the past. And by this, I mean life on Earth, where there's this sort of this apocalyptic thinking, but I want to remind you that apocalypse is change. It doesn't necessarily mean, the zombie apocalypse or something like that. And I know I'm being facetious, but to drive the point home, we've had this before. We have lived before, in my humble opinion. We have incarnated on earth before. We've experienced this and then some. And we've gone home and been heavenly home and been made healthy and whole again. And that cycle too shall repeat. When we say that this too shall pass, it is not a platitude. It is history. It is fact. It is the natural progression of the physical body that we will shed and we will return into our spirit forms. It doesn't serve us to catastrophize. I do feel like it's important to not shut out all news, not shut out all current events, to be a good Earth citizen and to be informed by multiple sources, and then go within and use your own discernment on evaluating what's happening. But I don't want to be in news from any outlet or outlets 24/7 because that's not my focus. So what the guides have been bringing forth is we have an opportunity, a huge opportunity right now to nurture the seeds of positive change, to nurture the seeds of compassion and hope, and to not nurture anymore. And by nurture, I mean accidentally nurturing, by focusing on conflict, by focusing on how frustrated we are that we can't change someone's opinion or mind or get our way. We nurture seeds of conflict. We grow these energies of conflict in that quantum field. And our guides and our loved ones in spirit can see this happening. And they know a bit before us what's coming because they're watching in a space that we cannot see with our physical eyes, but they can. People have asked me many times, did my spirit guides, did my loved ones in spirit know that COVID-19 was coming here? And the answer was always yes. They knew that something was coming here. They knew that it was going to be a huge challenge because they were watching it being built through our free will actions and the laws of the universe setting things up to happen. And did we choose it specifically? My team and the people I count on in the spirit form who have been giving me great evidence for years say, no, we didn't set this up to make us grow, but we created it and we have the opportunity to grow from it. Well, we have the opportunity to grow from war. We have the opportunity to grow from recession. And these are opportunities. I'm not telling you that to say, be grateful for your opportunities, be grateful for your challenges, be mindful. Because my mind is already full. I don't know about yours, but there is a really good point in the whole mindfulness movement, which is to bring your attention back to the current moment. In that moment where you start ruminating and worrying, look around you and find 3, 4, 5 things that you're grateful for. I'm grateful for my dog who's sleeping on the sofa behind me here in my home office. I'm grateful for the color yellow because it's sunny and bright. And even though those things seem trivial, they've brought my focus back to the current. And now, once I've done that, I'm like, now I'm going to focus on what am I giving energy to in the quantum field? Is it conflict? Is it worry? The universe doesn't hear the nots. I do not want that. So if you say, I do not want a recession, I do not want to lose my job, they're just hearing, I lose my job, I have recession. Be careful what you're watering, what you're nurturing, what you're fertilizing and growing in that quantum field. We have the opportunity to split away from those who thrive on anger and fear, and by our example, illuminate their lives to them. Just by our example, Um, instead of, I often say this, instead of praying for somebody to change or to understand you better, pray instead or petition that angels of light surround them and give them light and illumination so that they can see things more clearly, so that of their own free will, they can make better decisions or have a better understanding of you. There are always going to be people on earth that misunderstand you, that ascribe bad motives to you when you meant well. It happens to me, happens to all of us. But to feel conflicted and to make yourself smaller, to make them more comfortable, is not going to build the things that are good for you in the quantum field either. So be your own example, be your own leader, your own mentor, and try, if you can, to just focus on what you do want versus what you don't want. And what will happen is, as our friend Dr. Joe Dispenza says, these brain cells that fire together wire together. So if you're constantly thinking about what you do want, what you are manifesting, the positive, you're creating a new neural network that is able to see synchronicities, opportunities, and act upon them quickly versus one that's afraid of what's going to happen next. That's all. And so, nice smiley face from Johnny. Thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate you. So if you want to ask a question, we're on public chat right now. If you want to ask anything about what's going on in the world, I will stay here for a moment. This is the first time I've done this in a couple of years. During the pandemic, I hosted some really good panels you might want to check out. There's one with the former White House doctor, Navy commander. There's one with Dr. Evan Alexander. There's lots of things that are helpful and healing you can watch. I just uploaded the third video in a Pendulum Perfect series for you guys. There's things you can find that are positive on my website, carefreemedium.com or intuitioneducator.com. But if you have any thoughts on how you are shifting your focus and what's helping you with mental and emotional stress right now, feel free to chat, drop me a comment. I learn so much from all you guys. And this video will be posted. It will be there. People read the comments. And if you have something that's worked for you, definitely share it. Here's one. I started live streaming recently. One day I'd like to be a teacher once I find the patience. The patience will find you. And I heard that loud and clear. It was almost like it was being sung. It was musical. I had a sense of an angelic presence. The patience will find you. Meanwhile, you can be a teacher right where you are. We are role models for ourselves, for others. Every time we feel defeated, but we find the resources within, the gumption, as my granddad used to say, to get out of bed and do the right thing and put one foot out in front of the other when we feel defeated, we are making a positive difference in the world. We truly are. And the things that you want to accomplish and the things you want to release in life will be accomplished and will be released, but it may not be in the time and in the manner and in the exact form that you were expecting or wanting. Here's the comment: I'm dealing with grief and anger and moving forward slowly. Moving forward slowly is such a good idea, and it's such a good mantra, one step at a time, one day at a time. For our friends that are in recovery, one day at a time is being in the present moment, isn't it? And knowing that there are transformative opportunities and qualities around grief and anger. Those are emotions that help us to go within, to help us to be very discerning about what we're experiencing, about who we open up to, how we do that. And they also create compassion for ourselves and for other people. How do you have compassion for someone when you can't relate to their life experience at all? So, talk about being set up to be a very, very good teacher. So, be sure and say hello to your guides. Be sure and say goodnight to your guides. If you believe in a source, as I do, it is that source energy, whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it God or anything else. Um, that is where we have come from. That is what is within us. There is nothing God cannot do through you. There is nothing God cannot do as you. You and God are one, and our suffering is noticed, and none of it is wasted. You're a product of every experience that you've had. And one day you'll look back on this experience and go, wow, what a wild ride. So, listen, that's it for now. And when I sign off on any of my podcasts, you can find me at carefreemedium.com. I always say sending you love with a capital L. Capital L is big love, not like how I love pizza, but me sending love from my heart space to yours. So I'm Susanne Wilson in Carefree, Arizona, and I'll say goodnight.